Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Monday night. They say, better late than never, right?
Oh, we're only 6 minutes late. That's not too bad. Of course, with the delay, it's probably 7 minutes late. But then if they're watching in a different time zone, maybe it's early.
There you go.
We'll go with that.
It's all good. It's all good. And I jest on purpose, just because I can. No, by the way, if you did not check out Alan Berg and the video, you need to do that. Not right now, obviously, because you're gonna talk to John and I and listen to John and I. But if you are later, there we go. Later, check that out, because a great deal on his book, and I'm telling you, Alan Berg knows his stuff.
There were two things in, and I'm not gonna go into detail on those because it's going to basically be your job to go find them. There were two points that were basically just gold that he made, maybe three. Two that were super strong, and a third one that it's like there were two of them that were golden things that were basically you take those, use those, and it will turn into money. And there was a third one that we'll call it two gold ones and one silver.
Nice.
So it was worth listening. Not quite as much as worth listening to a vintage sports album, which would be worth more to listen to that. But
no, you can't listen to it because that would ruin the quality of it.
That's true. So then you'd have to go out and buy another copy. So you would have 5 copies like I do over here somewhere. Okay. I don't have a problem. I really don't.
Yes, you do. But it's okay. Laurie already knew. So
she's been home long enough to know that.
Absolutely. Oh, but no, in all seriousness though, we got a great show for you tonight because I think this is something that is so the timing on it is so perfect. If your school is not back in session, so I know like some parts of the country, schools are already back. They've been back for like a week or two. I think Robbie Britton was posting about first day of school from home, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. But no, in all seriousness, if you're not back yet, you're going to be going back soon. And so you've got to be prepared because I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't know the state that you're in, and I probably would be proved wrong for some of you, but if your school is going back full time, I'd say within 2 weeks, you're not going to be.
Yep, I would agree. There's going to be either some variation of. My biggest concern is that they're going to go back at a part-time, and then all of a sudden we're done. As far as we're back home full time again, and not so much that I'm concerned about the kids coming back and being a part of that, but that yo-yo is my biggest concern. And as we go forward, it's like the kids. I can see that there's a level of anticipation. One of our local schools put out what they're going to do. They're going to a 4-day school calendar, and on the 5th day, they're going to basically sanitize the school for the next week. And the kids are like, "Are we going to be doing something like that? That sounds, so we can be back and see that." Because right now, the only time they see their friends is on one of these when they're doing things like this. But they're gaming and they've got a video chat going on the side. So it'll be the yo-yo part. It will be tough to get used to this year, but I agree. I think we're going to see that. Some school districts that started 2 weeks ago are already taking a week off to clean. So it's going to be part of our reality here this upcoming school year.
Yeah, and my district that I teach in, we don't go back here until the end of the month, but the plan that we found out last week is that we are going to what they call hybrid, which is 2 days in and 3 days out. Now, one part of the alphabet is in like Monday and Wednesday, and the other part is in Tuesday and Thursday. And then Friday is a day where we're where everybody's virtual, but we're using to kind of get caught up in some of the virtual aspect of it and making sure that we're good to go. The cleaning aspect is going to be happening throughout the day and at night and everything else.
Right.
So they're not taking a day where nobody's in the building and they're going to like bomb it with something. It's the cleaning that's going to be happening throughout. So you're right. It's going to be the yo-yo aspect of it for the kids is frustrating. But I do say this, like my son got to see some friends. They were at the park today, some kids he hadn't seen since March. And he was just like, Dad, it was so cool. I actually got to see them. He said, their hair, like, it was like close. And now it's like all shaggy. He's like, it's like, all right.
It's called COVID hair, son.
Yeah, pretty much. He's been getting the dad haircut. Yeah, for the past few months, but not this. I mean, Dad's been cutting it.
Yeah, cutting it short, but I could just see. I got a haircut just like Dad's.
I threatened him a couple times with that. I was like, listen, you're going to let me do this or you're going to get this.
Yeah. See, this is what happened to me when I was a kid, and Grandma said either I sit still or I'm getting this, and this is what happened.
Oh, my.
So for tonight's show, we're going to be talking about how to handle the DJ business and having children home, whether they're elementary student age through middle school, high school, what have you. We're going to be coming at it from obviously both Dan and I are DJs, and Dan is a current teacher, as he was just talking about, and I'm coming from that area myself. So we're going to have a little bit different perspective than maybe some other people out there when it comes to this. Hopefully, and some of the things we're going to talk about and some of the tips and things we experienced already will help and such. And yeah, it's a tough situation that we've never had to deal with this before in our 20-some, 30-some years of being a small business owner.
Yeah. No, it's definitely different. I can't imagine what some groups and some families are having to deal with, and there's a lot of things that are uncertain, and they're going to stay uncertain until we get into it. Until you get into the thick of it, it's going to be uncertain.
So let's talk about it a little bit. With there's that uncertainty that we're going to feel, obviously, and the kids are going to feel that. What can we do to try to, not talking the balance of the two right now, but just to help the kids to, from what are they talking in the school, to help the kids to not be all stressed out about the situation? Or is there anything that we can do?
You got to realize kids are going to pick up on what we have, the mentality, the feelings that we put out, the air that we put out. Kids pick up on it. Kids pick up on it immediately. So the best thing that you can do is obviously to try and keep some of those emotions in check, especially around the kids. Like I said, they're going to pick up on them anyway. But if you're blatantly talking out with your kids of this is going to be a horrible year, this is going to be, you're not going to learn anything, and I can't believe that X, Y, and Z is happening, stupid this, stupid that, whatever, and you're putting a negative spin on it, the kids are going to go in with that negative attitude
for sure.
And so the first thing that you've got to do is make sure that you're trying to be as positive as you can. Recognize, don't lie to them and say, hey, it's all going to be peaches and cream, but rather be honest with them about what's happening, and things are going to be difficult, but here's the great thing: everybody is in the same type of boat,
right?
Everybody wants you to succeed. I want you to succeed, and so I'm going to come alongside of you, and whoever else might be working together. If you're a single parent, or if you've got a spouse or another person that's working to help this child, everybody's working together, and I can speak for myself, and I can speak for my colleagues, in the school that I teach. We're going to do everything we can. Like this is not, I've heard all this horror stories of teachers are going to have off. Like it's going to be easy. No, like we're going to be putting in like extra hours every night and every afternoon after, when the kids leave, and we got to buckle down, because we not only have to create something for in person, we also have to create something for online. And so there's a lot of that is going to be there. But again, I don't know a teacher that doesn't want a child to succeed.
Oh, for sure.
That's just in their nature. That's why part of the reason why you get into the career that you get into with that. But so with that, again, is keeping that positive attitude to help them. But again, having those conversations of, listen, things are going to be different this year. That doesn't mean things have to be bad. That just means things are going to be different.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity for you to learn. And one of the things that we've been pushing with our oldest, the youngest has no clue what's going on, but the oldest, what we've been pushing with him is, listen, this is a chance for you to learn about achieving in the midst of difficulty. Sometimes he gets things pretty quick, and he learns pretty quick. So when he runs into an obstacle where he just starts struggling, like, we see panic mode. Like,
Sure.
he doesn't really have a good in between. So learning how to get him to deal with those moments and achieve with those moments is good. So having talking with your kids about that is again something that's going to be key to helping them get through it.
Yeah, I think that helping them to try to get through this is going to be the ultimate key. And every child is going to have a different mechanism or a different button to push, or a different. Some will need a handheld. Some will need a arm around the shoulder, and some will whatever. And knowing that it's going to be different for each kid, I think is probably the difficult part. At least is working with our children in that realm.
Yeah. David. Oh, David, I'm sorry.
That's funny.
That's like saying DJ's going to press play. It just
that's like saying DJ's going to DJing because they want to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're done. So we are going to, we have our business, whether we're doing the DJ business, or maybe we've got some other little things, some side ventures we've added. How does one balance the work with kids at home plus running a business? That gets to be the ultimate question. And as we watch the news, we're hearing stories of people who, I couldn't do it. It just didn't work in my world. There's a lot of people who had difficulties with it. Some were able to do pretty well, but most had difficulties with it. What kind of things were they doing wrong that really made it so difficult, do you think, Dan?
Well, I can't speak to what they were necessarily doing wrong, because I personally don't know those people. So, but when I look at things that you have to have in place in order to have both of these happening, and I recognized a lot of this past week. So my son was doing a virtual scout camp, and working on merit badges. And he started at like 9 a.m. and he went till 5:30 in the afternoon with very little breaks in between. He used my computer. And so what ended up happening was I would get emails from couples, and it would pop up on my phone, and they'd be doing inquiries and stuff like that. And I don't like to respond back to emails unless they're pressing emails by my phone, because I have fat fingers and I always type something I don't mean to type. And autocorrect is even worse on my phone than anywhere else. So I'll save that for when I have my computer. So what really created a problem for me was we had one main piece of technology in the house for two different, very big things.
Right. It needed to go on at the same time.
Exactly. So most schools, and again, I can't speak for every school, but most schools, from what I've been understanding, if they've been going to a virtual aspect, they've gotten grant money or they've set money aside, and at least every family, if not every student, that is in that virtual situation is getting a device. And that's got to be your first key. If they're not, you need to set something up for them to do that, so that you still have the ability to conduct business while they are conducting school. Now, I will say this. Some schools are doing iPads. Your child might be better on a laptop or a Chromebook, or vice versa. So even if the district is providing it, you might want to take the time to go ahead and do that. The next thing that I would say that is going to be key to helping both of these succeed is for you to figure out what times during the day your student is working in a subject or on material that they need you beside them. you know, virtual learning for a lot of them is going to be new. How they handle it, how they learn it, how they come alongside, how they absorb it from the online presence. All those things have a lot of uncertainties that you're probably not going to know until maybe a week or two into whatever method your district is doing. So coming alongside them during those times and saying, listen, I'm not going to conduct business.
Right.
The old, we're going to the expo and we're turning our phone off. That's what you need to do.
Yep.
You can't be you can't be sitting beside your student. Oh, my phone goes off. I got to text this person back, or checking Facebook. You've got to be there, listening to what's happening, absorbing the same thing. Because the other thing that I'm going to say is this: I've seen some things on Facebook where they're not going to learn it the way that the teacher is. I'm going to teach it the way I learned it. I'm going to say two things to that. One is, depending upon what's going on, there's probably a reason why they are.
Yes.
We can get into the whole Common Core thing. I'm not going to go down that route. But what I'm saying is there's often a reason why things are developed the way they are. It would be in your best interest to take those extra times, take that extra moment while you have a chance to listen to the teacher do it and say why, to come alongside and help your student learn. So again, setting the phone aside, setting the business aside. I'm not saying you have to set the business aside for 2 weeks, but during the time where you learn, okay, Johnny has trouble with math. I'm going to make sure that if he's supposed to be doing math between 10 and 11, my phone is off. I have a do not disturb. I have an auto reply, something that says to anybody that comes in, I'll get back to you. I promise. Right. You just got to give me some moments. And if it's another time, and if you have multiple kids, it might mean multiple times. But that is the only way I feel you're going to have both of these be able to succeed. Both have your business in that. You've got to have time set aside for it. And you also might have to say, okay, listen, they get lunch from noon to 1. I'm doing as much as I can from noon to 1.
Yep.
And at 1 o'clock, while I'm watching him do his math, I'm eating my sandwich. Mm-hmm. I'm eating and watching at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice, because that was one of the areas of not knowing how the teachers taught. And many of these things, 25 years ago, when I went through and got my teaching degree, there were nuances of what we did then are different than what we do now. Mm-hmm. And that became a problem because I didn't have that succession of a process to know why they were doing or what they were doing. And it's like, well, here's how it was. We taught it back then. Well, the kids are like, what? That's not how we do it. When we then we regroup and we do this and do that and the other. It's like, oh yeah. But things like that, if I would have been able to have that time and sit down. But one of the things, good or bad, were these things. The kids are in a Zoom or a classroom, and their headphones in, so I couldn't follow along in things, and that's one of the changes. As you mentioned, that it's exactly what we're going to be doing. Is that the kids are going to be, if they have a microphone, whatever, but we need to be able to hear what's going on, so we can be on the same page when it comes to assignments and how they're to do those assignments.
I would also encourage, and this is just a general parenting type of help that I would say, whether you're in person or not, when you're working with your student, one of the things that you can help them do is ask them to explain it to you. When they're talking about it, just flat out ask them, hey, what's going on? Can you explain this to me? That's different than what I learned it. Not saying it's bad, but I don't understand it. So can you show it to me?
Good point. Yeah.
Because when they're in person, first off, that is often a skill that as a teacher, hey, tell me about this. You go over the board and show it to me. But if they're at home, there's a little bit less of that being able to happen.
Yes.
Or in the same fashion. So a lot of times, if you can get them to talk about it or to show it to you, or even if you're studying with them later on, ask them to show it to you, and you don't have to know a lick of what they're talking about. You can just pretend and follow along, and especially in history and math and in ELA and all those different subjects. The more they can show you, the more they got it too. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, DJ Extreme mentions that the best way to show your learning is to teach it to someone else. And that is a management principle. That is a teaching, in the teaching world, was one of those things that when you can show a level of mastery and teach someone else, then you're in a good place where that actually becomes your information, and you've made it part of you as opposed to just remembering it and then dumping it.
Mm-hmm.
So we shut the phones off. We do things. How are we going to be able to balance some of those things that have to happen at the same times when it comes to the kids? And this was a struggle I had, is that I've got a 10 o'clock appointment to do something, and the kids have got a 10 o'clock. I mean, how does a person balance that type of stuff out in this day and age? And maybe there just isn't a balance, and you just try to do the best you can.
Well, I think two different things. One is, if you go into that mentality of the first couple of weeks are going to be kind of crazy, they're going to be a little bit unsure of and not 100% on knowing where things are going to happen. I would really encourage you for this first couple of weeks, if you're going to do any meetings, to do them in the evenings, just because that way it puts you there during the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also encourage you to maybe even just to think back to, unless you've always been full-time, what was it like when you were part-time? When you were working a day job Monday through Friday, how did you conduct business then?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, some of you are very blessed, I'm sure, to be able to be on your phones at your work, and your boss doesn't mind. And, if you're responding to a bride, as long as you're not taking an hour, they don't care. But for a lot of people, phones aren't allowed to be touched during business hours.
For sure.
So think about those kind of moments and treat it like that. Treat it as this is your day job. Being the parent and helping them with school is your day job. And then once you kind of fine tune those times, you say, okay, I'm in a meeting from 9 to 11 every Tuesday and Thursday, because that's when my child's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So the meetings don't happen then. In the same respect, and I would believe that a lot of districts are going to have some flexibility here, because if you've got 2 or 3 kids in school and they're all supposed to be signed online to a class at the same time, that's really taxing on internet that some families are not going to be able to keep up with. So I would assume that a lot of them are going to have some flexibility. Like, you have to do this assignment, but you don't necessarily have to do the assignment from 9 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that could afford you, if you're in that situation, that could afford you to say, okay, I have to have a meeting at 9, whatever it is, or I have to run this errand at 9. So, all right, Johnny, 9 o'clock, you're not going to do this. You really understand ELA, so you're going to do ELA at 9 o'clock, and you're going to work on English and
Mm-hmm.
reading. Or, you know what, we're gonna at night, we don't have anything going on tonight, so take your hour of TV time that you normally get at night, and you get to have it during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever your family does to kind of for that downtime, bump it to where you have to have your meeting.
So let's talk a little bit about when kids are probably the most productive during their day. Is there some studies with that, or what have you experienced when the kids should be working on those maybe more core classes that are a little more taxing?
So, yeah, I mean, there's studies all over the place, and a lot of them say that they're not productive as early as school often starts. It's not until like 9 or 10 o'clock do students really start to get into that production swing. What I've personally noticed, though, is it kind of depends upon the child. If your child is an early morning or a late riser, could have an impact on this. The thing that you don't want to have happen is you don't want to get in the habit of going, well, you know what? You don't have to go to school today, so I'm just going to let you sleep as long as you want. In the spring, we had some of this happen. So we were doing distance learning, although it was more like a review setup. But we were calling families if we saw a student was starting to fall behind or wasn't keeping up on their work. We were calling families. I was calling at like 11:30 in the morning, and I was getting mom waking up at that point and talking to her, and hey, your daughter's falling behind, and
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of need to get her caught up. Oh, okay. Well, when she gets up, I'll make sure she gets on that.
At 11 o'clock.
at 11 o'clock in the morning during the week when she's supposed to be doing school. So don't fall into that. It's very easy. And unfortunately I had students who, if they didn't have to be in a building, would still be sleeping because they were up till 4 or 5 in the morning. I mean, I had students that I knew that did that. I mean, they're very easy to tell you those things like, yeah, I was up all night playing Fortnite. And you're like, oh, so you're up till like midnight? No, I was up till like 4:30. And then I crashed, and then I got up, and that's why I'm falling asleep in your class. So don't fall victim to that. You got to have a structure, and the more structure you can have, the better. But going back to the original question, kind of where I was getting was, what I've noticed is whether you have a late riser, whether you have an early riser, starting out with where they have success is the best thing that you can do. So if there's a certain subject area that they really enjoy, start your morning at 8 a.m. or whatever time is going to work that you feel best, but start off the day with that subject. So then when you roll into the more difficult ones at 9 or 10, they've already had some success.
Mm-hmm.
They've already done well. I also see a lot of times things drop off after lunch. Now, that's in the school setting. They've been socializing for the last half an hour, 40 minutes. So sometimes that's why things drop off. But I see the most success happening in that mid to late morning time slot. That's where my students always seem to do the best.
Mm-hmm.
And for my own son, that was the case too. When he was doing scout work last week, he was good in those morning hours. He had lunch. He had a little bit of dip. He picked back up for a little bit, but then by 3, he was like, I'm toast.
He's done.
Like that last class was rough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that concept of routine, I think a lot of people, with the stress of what happened in the spring, I think that was a big lead into as parents were worried, what's tomorrow going to bring, what's next week going to bring, what's going to be next month. And I think that the stress, lack of sleep, this hours getting messed up. It's a good thing Dave's got he's figuring out his schedule, where his most successful classes, starting off the day with study hall and then following it up with recess. And I'm sure lunch is going to be coming shortly thereafter, or mid-morning snack, and then.
Yeah. Don't forget your milk and cookies.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to working with the kids, and they're going to have an assignment to do for a class, we'll stick in math because that's coming from your area. The kids let's say I've got some middle school kids, and then we're doing multiplication or division, whatever it is, and as a parent, how much assistance do you give when they're like, I don't know what, this is 7 times 8 is? That seems to be one that is very commonly a problem. How much help do you give kids, or with the stand or spelling, with the, I don't know how to spell whatever the word is, and look it up. They used to throw a dictionary over and say, look it up. I don't know how. What do you recommend when it comes to the amount of what you can help and when you should probably step back and let them struggle?
First off, take the smart devices out of the room. My son is very quick to ask Alexa while he's doing his homework. From the teacher standpoint, I would rather see a student fail first. And that sounds wrong, but I'd rather see them struggle than to have a parent jump in and save the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I come back and look at their work, if all I was seeing is right answers, and especially in the setting where I only have them in front of me, or I don't have them in front of me at all, and all I'm seeing is the work that's getting sent to me, I don't know where they struggled at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know necessarily where to help them. Now, if I have them in front of me, there's other things I can do to check that and that. But in the situation where we're doing hybrid, that becomes even harder because it's only a couple days that I get the chance to really kind of be hands-on with them. So I'd encourage you to, you don't want your student to get stressed. So if the wrong answers are causing severe stress, then I would kind of pull back and say, okay, let's look at this together. All right. And oftentimes what I do with my own son is when he hits something that he doesn't know, like, and we'll stick with math for right now. And he's, I or he gets it wrong, or I just don't know this answer. Oftentimes I'll find an answer that he knows that I can use to my advantage.
Okay.
So for example, use the 7 times 8. And for those of you that are grabbing your calculator, it's 56. Okay. What I will sometimes do is, I'll go back and I'll be like, okay, do you know 6 times 8? And do you know 5 times 8?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 5 times 8, 40. I've got 40. Okay. What's 2 times 8? 16. All right. 40 and 16 is what? 56. Guess what? You just did it. What? And you start working with numbers in a different light. And some of you are like, I would have never thought to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can, I will say this right now. So I'll throw out some math websites for you guys to check out. And John, if you want to throw them in the chat, feel free to do so.
Okay.
But one's called Khan Academy, KHAN academy.org. Great site. The videos can be a little boring. Especially if you have like middle school or younger. They have some good programs, but they can be a little dry videos from time to time. Another one is called virtualnerd.com. But again, videos that have that ability to teach it and hear it from another person. So a lot of times when I have students in class that struggle listening to me,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, personality conflicts, don't like me, think I'm bald and ugly, I don't care. But they just struggle. What I will often do is I will give them these websites and I'll say, go check out the videos there.
Right.
You don't have an option not to learn this. You just have an option not to necessarily learn it from me.
Mm-hmm.
So let's find another way that you can learn it. Let's bring another option in. So parents, I would encourage you to give them another place to learn it rather than giving them the answer. And then the first website I mentioned, Khan Academy, they have all, if you've not heard of them before, they have all sorts of subjects. They have stuff up in college and adult learning levels as well, all the way down to recently, I think they even have like a pre-K level, and are fun, fun type of activities that they can do. So, KHAN. Yeah. Don't click the link John just sent. It might get a porn.
Oops, I sent it out the wrong way too, the other way. Sorry.
There we yep, and it's .org, not .com. John is just striking out. Should I type it? Maybe I don't.
Oh, I typed it, and I got it. I guess I did. I got it wrong there too.
Okay.
Let's see.
Robin hits up on another thing that can definitely help, and this is she believes in having an area in the home just for school is important. Maybe your home doesn't have that ability. I would recommend definitely not doing it in front of a TV or anywhere where there's a direction of a TV.
Mm-hmm.
My son will watch his little brother's little kid programs because they're on.
Yeah, anything.
In the background.
News is on. Yeah.
Anything to distract him. So out of eyesight, out of earshot, if you can, it's really helpful. Having him at the kitchen table, something that kind of similar resembles a desk. There's a reason why students are in desks or at tables in school. Mm-hmm. It's not just because we can buy them in bulk. It's because there's some proven fact of, doing that over sitting in a recliner. So having those types of things at your disposal, I think are great tools to help them. I don't know if I even answered your question necessarily. I kind of went around it and threw some websites at you, but
yeah, but you did answer it. You answered it about 17 minutes ago, and then you danced around for the last.
I'm rambling tonight. I'm sorry.
No,
I will say this. This is something I am somewhat passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I love DJing and I love teaching, and this is something that goes hand in hand. And I feel like for a lot of people, there's so much uncertainty. We've talked about that in the very beginning of the show. There's so much uncertainty with what's coming. They don't know how to handle it. And so oftentimes I see just a lot of distress calls on Facebook, for lack of better terms.
For sure.
I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to survive. I was never this type of person. I was never that type of person. How am I supposed to help my student learn? Just be a support for them. Come alongside them, help them. Don't give them the answer. Help them find the answer. Mm-hmm. And John, you talked about throwing the dictionary at them. That idea is there, but rather walk through the dictionary with them.
Yeah.
Walk through it. When my son was doing some stuff for Scouts and we had to look it up, and it was just he was really getting tense and stuff like that. So I was like, let's use Google. Let's use it to our advantage. All right. You see this definition. Do you understand it? Dad, I'm not getting it. I don't understand what it's talking about. This stuff doesn't make sense. And I'm a kid. I don't need to know this.
Yeah.
And for what he was doing, I mean, he was doing personal management. So it's like talking about loans and saving for retirement. And, I'm like, you're 4 years away from even potentially having your first job. I get that you don't understand this. So let's talk in some terms that you do. All
Yes.
right. Let's take what's here and let's pare it down. And that's what you oftentimes can do for your kids.
Exactly. He started talking about IRA contributions, and he understood that completely.
Exactly. As soon as I put IRA, he's like, oh yeah, IRA, I know her.
That stuff. Oh,
She's in my grade.
I know what that means. And then we're going to short buy some stock. It'll be great. I know all about that.
By the way, did you see what David put? I love that.
No.
Have them log on to DJ and TV Insider. Tell them if they don't learn, they must become a DJ, part of the Scared Straight program.
That's funny.
David, I think you get the comment of the night right there.
Yeah, that's the Scared Straight program. That's good. I like that. That's it. So one that probably I spent the summer working with the two boys basically because things just didn't happen like we weren't as successful in the spring as we could have been. And part of it was my fault. Part of it was just getting used to it. And as you said, it was a review time mostly anyway, which was what it was. The area that I found is, as Robin mentioned, having a specific spot that this is where we do our stuff. And that has helped tremendously. Having specific times in which this is the time, the block of time, which was late morning, has been huge. The second part is asking questions when going through. We explain what we're going to do, demonstrate a couple of what we're going to be doing for the day, showing a simpler math problem as an example, and talking about how the numbers were manipulated and dealt with within that problem that we're going to be dealing for the day. And then asking questions of okay, so now how would you do this one? Talk me through it, which absolutely kills one of my two boys. He's like, this takes too long. He doesn't want to do that. But after we get past the little buckiness, then he will talk his way through. And sometimes he talks himself into a corner and then just sitting there for a second and he realizes, wait a second, no, that's wrong. And talks himself back out of the corner and corrects and moves on. So when you mentioned being supportive, I think part of that supportive is not giving answers, but asking questions. Mm-hmm. And can you show me how you got that answer? Why did you write that the topic of this paragraph was this? What made you think that, or what stood out to say that was the case? And sometimes it'll be like they have no clue. Sometimes it's out of left field. And sometimes it's like, that was really insightful. And I could see that. I can see how that could be interpreted that way. So asking questions.
Our kids, and I don't care who you are, our kids have a lot of thought process and a lot of brain power that I think sometimes often gets overlooked because parents aren't asking those questions. And I'm not just talking school, and like just anything, sometimes, like they'll do something and you'd be like, why'd you do that? You might need to ask that question, but maybe ask it in a nicer way, nicer tone, and just see what comes. I mean, see that mentality. My wife has a cousin up in Massachusetts, and they are, he's, I don't know worth how many billions or millions he's worth, but he had an idea one night, or I should say he had an idea. His daughters had an idea for an invention. And because he just said, let's talk one night. If you could create something, what would you create? And they had this idea. And he's like, okay, cool. Next day, he made some phone calls. They've started it. The product is about ready to be shipped out in stores. And all because he was asking questions of his daughter, just encouraging them to just talk and then and then reached out to some people to say, hey, could we do this? Well, yeah, we might be able to do that. all right, let's make it happen. And it's those types of things that you can get out of your kids, whether they're multi-million type of ideas or whether they're 7 times 8.
Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting, the thought process sometimes, especially if you're more of a linear thinker, and then you find that you have a child who's coming at it from the other side of it, and it's like, oh yeah, that works. Not the way I would have done it, not the way I would have thought about it, but yeah, it works. So
One of my favorite questions to my son when he's doing math and I see a wrong answer is, tell me what you did here. I multiplied this, and okay, specifically, I multiplied 4 times 5, and I wrote a 9, and then I did, wait a minute, say that again. I multiplied 4 times, oh, that's not 9, I added. And it's something, and that's the type of thing you start talking to, and it makes it a huge difference.
that it does. Then that's that talking themselves back out of that corner and hopefully catching their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So excellent. I think our time is wound down tonight.
Awesome. So the big thing that I would say is, at least give me partial credit. Nice. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I'm a sucker for that stuff. Don't give up. As I think tonight I would definitely say is don't give up. Don't give up on your school, on the school that your kids attend. Don't give up on the teachers. Everybody's in this unknown crazy boat that we're going through, and everybody wants everybody to succeed. Mm-hmm. So don't give up, and don't give up on your business. Some are like, I wouldn't give up my business, but in the same respect, just learn to compartmentalize when you're attacking those things, when you're attacking those emails, when you're doing things. And it might be one of those things where even more so you need to find somebody to come alongside to help you with certain parts of your business, because you're now having to play home support in a much bigger fashion than you ever did before.
Mm-hmm. That we will. Excellent.
All righty.
I think that's it. Let's see. Coming up this week.
Yes.
Tomorrow night at 8:00 Eastern. So an hour earlier than we typically go on. We're going to have a tribute to for Ray Martinez. For a lot of you who have met Ray, he's at DJ conventions, kind of a fixture in the industry. He passed away of COVID complications last week. So we're going to have some of his closer friends. I knew him in some aspects, but I didn't know him super, super well. And it was some very personal things that he and I talked about. So not show topics. Others have been involved with him in knowing him more in a more public manner. So they're going to come in and share some stories from Raymar from the past. Then at 9:00 Eastern, Ben Stowe's show, we're going to talk about 5 pieces of gear that are underrated, that maybe even you don't even realize that you should have. So Ben's gone through and picked out some underrated pieces of gear for DJs. And then at 10:00 Eastern, then we're going to be doing 10:00 Eastern. Then we're going to be kind of reminiscing about DJ Expo. This would have been DJ Expo week. As a lot of you have probably heard, events are canceling. Right now, DJ Expo is still scheduled for November. It's not looking good, just because NAMM announced today they're done. CES is not going in January, so really it's going to be a really difficult time. So, but it would have been this week, and we're going to just kind of share some past experiences and stories from DJ Expo. So it should be fun.
By the way, I'm assuming did you see the video from Brian Scott Red?
No, I haven't. I saw that it was up there, but I haven't been on Facebook long enough to watch, and I don't even know if it's 30 seconds or 3 minutes. I don't know. But
yeah, it's like 2.5, 3 minutes. It's not long at all. It was kind of nice. He talked a little bit, just saying, "Hey, I had all these memories," and there was just pictures and pictures and pictures, of everything from our first official insider get together a few years ago to just multiple things and seeing the different backdrops of the show and stuff like that. I was like, that was cool.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of take a look at that later this evening. And I figured it'd be something actually Michael, my son Michael, would be able to relate to much of what he saw now that since he's been there a couple of times, and he's kind of bummed. I think he'd have liked to have obviously gone back to DJ Expo again. So, but someday.
Yep. So on that note, thank you very much for taking the time to tune in tonight. As David said, tonight's show went a little bit more towards the family side than what we typically do, but hopefully you found some piece of advice that you can use. Whether you're a DJ with the business or whether you're just a person who's trying to help their kids, however you came across this show and however it helps you, I'm glad and thank you for taking the time to tune in. Tonight, don't forget, when you get off of here, djntv.com/chill. Share some more of those ideas with your friends and your other colleagues as far as what has worked for you or what it will be working for your family, and help them out, or just talk shop for a little bit. Have some fun with that. But enjoy yourself. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.